Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, good morning everyone. I would like to begin today by commending the initiators of North Shipping. First of all, for organizing this exhibition, the world's largest maritime event this year, no less. Secondly, for bringing key stakeholders together. And not at least for organizing today's conference and providing focus on such an important issue, Brazil, the world's fastest growing offshore market. It is a feeling of golden rush, said Mr. Jonas Gahr Støre, the Norwegian Minister of Foreign Affairs, when he visited Rio de Janeiro earlier this year. Brazil's booming economy is absolutely shining. And many Norwegian companies are looking to Brazil with an ambition of being a part of this Brazilian bonanza. The number of Norwegian companies investing in Brazil has increased rapidly in recent years. There are now about 100 companies in various key sectors such as aluminum, offshore, and maritime industries. Brazil represents a new frontier of opportunities. It attracts attention and worldwide admiration. Last year, the Brazilian economy grew by a blistering 7.7%, unmatched since 1986. The release of last year's economic figures in the beginning of March told us that Brazil is taking over Italy to rank as the world's 7th biggest economy. And in the years ahead, continuous high growth will certainly push it higher up the ladder. In fact, the latest version of a report called The World in 2050 by PricewaterhouseCoopers concludes that the financial crisis has accelerated the shift in global economic power to the emerging economies. In 2009, they ranked Brazil as number 9 largest economy. As already mentioned, today they are number 7. By 2050, they will be ranked as number 4. There are several reasons to trust these forecasts. Firstly, because Brazil handled the credit crunch much better than most other countries. In fact, many people will say that this was the crisis that never came to Brazil. Brazil was one of the last countries to enter the financial crisis and the first to go out of it. The unemployment rate is at record low. The domestic economy is growing fast with an ever-expanding middle class. Secondly, the political leadership in Brazil with now Dilma Rousseff in the lead has proven itself worthy of the Brazilian people's trust. Furthermore, Brazil's voice in the international politics is steadily getting stronger. Today, Brazil is an aspiring global power with regional interest, but also with international responsibilities. And lastly, the Brazilian industry has seized every moment and every opportunity given to them. The result we see today, the development of large offshore fields, is destined to turn Brazil into one of the largest main energy providers. Brazil's new black gold outside of the coast of Rio will spur the country on to lead, not only in extracting and exporting raw materials, but also into innovation and technology. Brazil's subsea fields are thought to hold over 13 billion barrels of oil. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Gabrielli, but according to my sources, Petrobras will pump 5.4 million barrels a day in 2020. Norway's technological base has high potential to support Petrobras in reaching its targets. Norwegian competence has very chance to function as a lubricant for Brazil's ever more powerful maritime sector. Statoil is now one of the many Norwegian companies active in development of the Brazilian offshore energy. Aker Solution, FMC, Sevan Marine, BW Offshore, and Seadrill are other good examples. The maritime sector have around 25 Norwegian companies established, such as Solstad, Farstad, and CM Offshore, all companies that we are very proud of in Norway. In fact, 26% of all specialized ships operating in Brazil are controlled by Norwegian companies. And a substantial number of Norwegian seafarers, skilled and qualified labor, are employed on those ships. All of this shows that the economic relations between our two countries are characterized less by competition than by complementarities. In the maritime offshore, in particular, what Norway has to offer matches the needs of Brazil, and also what Brazil needs as it continues to grow is what Norway does best. I believe strongly in something Benjamin Franklin presented. He's one of the greatest men, and he had a great statement who said, "No nation was ever ruined by free trade." Norway is a fine example. Norway is a medium-sized European country with almost 5 million people. In a global context, Norway is only 116th most populous country. However, despite the fact that we are a small country with a small population, we are number 25 largest in the economic ranking. So to be sure, access to foreign markets, free trade for Norwegian goods services has been a precondition for Norway's prosperity and economic development. And we are punching above our economic weight class because of our successful companies and exporting industry. This is why the Norwegian government, together with Brazilian governments, puts a lot of focus in providing the best possible frameworks conditions in both of our markets. It explains why we put so much emphasis into focusing on the complementarities and potential for a win-win situation in both Brazil and in Norway. The win-win situation has already shown us a 200% increase the last decade. New estimates indicate that Norwegian private sector investments and commitments will be more than $25 billion in a few years. And this win-win situation is also the reason for Norway's strategy for our bilateral cooperation with Brazil. The starting point was the simple acknowledgement that Brazil is important to Norway. And it was the business sector that led the way. I must admit that you saw the importance of this country and the need for a strategy before the politician did. But if it had been the other way around, I really would have been worried. So now we're working to have a strengthening of our bilateral and industrial relations. This is a key target on the strategy. And in order to expand our win-win potential, we want to take a fresh look at our relations and to take them a step further. The strategy enforces a coherent focus in our cooperation, and of course it focuses on the areas where Brazil and Norway are sharing a set of common interests and goals. The strategy sets out what Norway has to offer. It is a Norwegian invitation to Brazil. The strategy touches on 4 main areas: private sector cooperation and trade and investment, climate and environmental issues and sustainable development, global challenges, knowledge exchange, and social development. Our focus in this process has naturally been in the first area, business and investments. Most of you are managing and doing very well. Nevertheless, as the strategy acknowledged, there are some challenges you have to deal with. In Brazil, you have to do and play the Brazilian way. The government will do whatever it can to assist you in this important market. And in the strategy, you will find 7 different action points. We said that we will continue to strengthen the dialogue with Brazilian authorities in different levels. We will launch an initiative for establishment of a bilateral economic commission. We will seek to improve market access and framework conditions for Norwegian companies in Brazil and provide support through the bodies established for this purpose. We will contribute to facilitate private sector cooperation between Norway and Brazil in those sectors where the potential mutual benefits are greatest. We will facilitate cooperation and capacity building in and increased industry-oriented research, and promote a sound environmental and social profile in business activities in Brazil. And last, and maybe the most important for today's audience, the initiative saying that we will consider negotiating a free trade agreement and start negotiating on a bilateral shipping agreement. The latter has already begun. I am glad to inform you that the request concerning further negotiations on a bilateral shipping agreement were initiated earlier this year when Minister of Trade and Industry, Mr. Trond Giske, visited Brazil. Within the maritime sector, the Norwegian maritime industry has also identified a need for strengthening the cooperation with Brazil on education and expertise. Brazil is highly dependent on more skilled labor to realize its ambitions and its plan on the continental shelf. Skilled and qualified labor will eventually become a bottleneck on Brazil's shelf if not concrete measures are put in place. This was also a topic discussed in the meeting with you, Mr. Gabrielli, and the Norwegian Minister of Trade and Industry in Rio earlier this year. At this meeting, Kongsberg confirmed its interest to work together with Petrobras and Brazilian Navy to strengthen the training of offshore and Navy personnel. I know that Kongsberg is working on a concept to develop this cooperation further. Norway's technological base has high potential to support Brazil in reaching its ambitious plan on the shelf. As already mentioned, in the maritime and offshore sector, what Norway has to offer matches the needs of Brazil. What Brazil needs, it's what we do best. I'm therefore satisfied with the fact that the Brazilian, together with the Norwegian government, now are working together with concrete initiatives to strengthen the collaboration on education and expertise. Before stepping down, President Lula spoke to the nation in a televised address, and he said, "Today, all Brazilian men and women believe more in their self and in their country. This is a shared victory for all of us." There are several reasons for the Brazilian people to be proud: their economic growth, the growing middle class, the steadily stronger voice they have in international policy makings. I would argue that the combination of these reasons sum up why President Dilma, according to a political analyst, took over in the office, was referred to one of Brazil's most beautiful moments in the history. The challenge ahead for Dilma and Brazil is to continue preserving and developing this beautiful moment further. That means taking steps forward, letting the whole nation take part in the history, in the growing prosperity. And not at least, it means that Brazilian women should have an equal opportunity to follow in Dilma's footsteps. When she became the country's first presidenta, she stated, "I would like for fathers and mothers to look into their daughters' eyes today and tell them, yes, women can. I would like to register my first post-election commitment to honor Brazilian women so that this unprecedented fact becomes a natural event." Let her words stand as an inspiration to all of us. Thank you very much for your attention, and good luck with the rest of the conference.